welcome to Unity of Boulder. We are so glad you're here this morning. We'd like you to help us sing a song that should be familiar to most of you if you've been around a little bit, May the Longtime Sun. So I'm going to ask you to stand with us and sing along, and we'll have lyrics for you.
We do invite you to use your cell phones. We also want to welcome everyone who's watching us via live stream. So we do have a virtual community. They're real people going through virtual space. They're not virtual people watching us, they're real people. So we're really glad that they've joined us this Sunday and been a part of this community. We also want to welcome and to thank our Spanish speakers for being here that are listening through the interpretation. So for those of you who don't know, we do have live Spanish interpretation happening. That happens in the window up there. And then we have headsets available for that, for people that are primarily Spanish speakers. All right, what else do we have? Is there anyone else here visiting from another Unity church that happen to be coming through here? Yeah, what church are you guys from? Columbine, awesome, welcome. Our sister church just across the street there. Well, it's a few streets. It's not one street. It's probably like 40 streets or so, but you get the idea. So thank you for coming. Anyone else from another Unity? We often get people traveling through town, and we invite people to go visit other Unity churches when you're traveling, which pretty much the whole staff here does. We like to go visit the local Unity church in whatever area we are in and see their particular flavor, meet their staff and their ministers. So that's a lot of fun. All right, anybody here for the first time who's comfortable enough to raise their hand and let us see you? You're here for the first time? Welcome. Thank you for coming. Is anyone else? All right, we know you have a lot, on the back, great, thank you for coming. We know you have a lot of options of what you can do on Sunday, especially on a beautiful day like this. And we're glad that you come to be a part of this experience with us. So we really want to thank you for that. All right, now I get out of here and you guys get to have more fun without me.
So we'd like to teach you a new song today. It's called One People by Carl Anthony. It's a beautiful song. We'll do it a lot of times, over and over. So you'll definitely have it by the end. So I would just ask you to enter into a spirit of prayer as we sing through this.
celebrate and participate in the flow of Spirit. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, universe, grace, we are grateful for the flow of Spirit. The same flow that is in the stars, the same flow that moves the planets, the same flow that makes flowers grow, the same flow that makes the moon shine. This flow is in us, in the core of our being, ever available. Take this moment now and feel that flow in your heart, in your core. Breathe. Feel that flow as peace, as ease, as joy, as strength, and as guidance. We let go and open to the flow. We let go and open to the flow. We breathe and let go and open to the flow of Spirit. And as the hands and feet of Spirit, let us also do our part and participate in this flow. Let us see and affirm love surrounding everyone in this room. Love surrounding this community, all its members, all the volunteers, the staff, the outreach. Let us see love surrounding this country. Let us see love surrounding the entire world. And let us see love surrounding all that needs to be healed in ourselves, in each other, and in the world. Again, Father, Mother, God, we are so grateful for your unconditional love that is present in all things and in all places. We are so blessed. Thank you, God, for all your infinite blessings. And to this we say, Amen.
I need to stand with us and sing this again.
One people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one people living on one planet, joining in one family. We are all one people living on one planet, joining in one family.
Thank you for that beautiful music. Wonderful way to start. And the band, oh my gosh, we are so blessed here at Unity. Good. Yeah. Can't say thank you enough. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here this morning. I did want to start today just by, recognizing what happened yesterday. We don't want to talk about the darkness in the world when we're here at church, and we want to just get into that higher level of consciousness. But we also need to recognize that, innocent brothers and sisters were killed for no reason, and at Walmart in El Paso, and then there was a shooting at 1 a.m. in Ohio. So a lot of people lost their lives yesterday senselessly, and just wanted to take a minute just to be quiet and just send out blessings to their family, to their children, to all the people that are affected. With that many people, so many people are affected. I mean, we're all affected. I have this kind of low-grade feeling in my heart today. And my mom called me this morning, and she said, you won't believe it, but your dad and I actually were in that Walmart 2 days ago in El Paso. And they wanted to clarify that they don't ever go to Walmart, but they were in Walmart because they're camping and they needed supplies, and apparently that's the only thing that's in El Paso, so they were in there. So I feel major gratitude that they're okay. But last night I was having trouble sleeping because Mike's alarm went off at 1:30 in the morning, of all things. I don't know why it did that, but I already sleep very lightly before I'm going to do a sermon anyway. I'm just kind of a little bit on edge. And so after that, I was awake, and I turned on the TV, and I just saw all this, that's happened. I didn't watch TV yesterday, so I didn't even actually know about any of this till about 1:30 this morning. And so you can imagine I really didn't go back to bed because that just created so much anxiety and just, how do I do a peppy talk when you see all this devastation? But I'm going to, because we need positivity, and we have to be bringing that positivity to this world, because that vibration is so important to heal our hearts and to be in our oneness. So today's talk is titled Looking for Signs from God. And it came from a conversation that I had with a young man that grew up through our Sunday school and all the way into through our youth department, and then went off to college, and he's around 22 now, and he's graduated from college. And for a year, he's been applying for jobs as a computer engineer, and he doesn't seem to be getting any hits for this job, and it's starting to look like he might have to move home with his parents, and he doesn't want to go back to the job that paid for him to get through college. And he was not in a good place when he came to talk to me. He came disgruntled and frustrated and feeling like God has kind of just let him down. He was really talking in this place where he's just taking on spirit, and why is this all happening? And he asked me, he said, Santisha, how do you know that you haven't been fooled all this time and you just think you are experiencing God in your life, and in fact, you have made it all up in your mind? And I said, well, I would be in the wrong career if that was the case. But the truth is the divine unfoldment of this powerful energy we call God or spirit or source or whatever we call it, it's really whatever word makes you feel hugged, is unfolded unto us as we develop in our lives, right? And so maybe there's something going on in your life. I said to him that you're not supposed to be going into that work right now. I said, did you go straight into college right out of high school? Yes. And I said, and so now you've had this year and you've just been plugging away trying to get the job, and it's not happening. So something is in a stopped place right now. And so maybe this is a time for, introspection on who am I? What is it that I'm here to bring into my life? Because at that age, all we think we are is the career we're going to go get into, or especially if we got the education and now we're not getting, any response to it. I'm like, but have you traveled? Have you seen this world? Have you ever, gotten out of the comfort zone of Boulder, Colorado, this bubble, and get to see and experience different cultures and races and music? And I haven't experienced any of that. And I said, okay. So he says to me, I know Unity doesn't believe in some distant God in the sky and refer to it as a divine energy. a divine force that moves in and through everything in our lives. But what if it's just energy moved by cause and effect and is not actually intelligent? And I thought that was a really good question. Because asking questions is a very smart thing to do when we're not feeling a direct connection with God and we're feeling like we've been left out. And everybody goes through phases where we're not feeling that synchronicity, where you think of somebody and they call you right away, or you think of this and that just gets fulfilled, and you just live in this like divine order, this divine demonstration is your life. You know, you have those phases, but we do have the phases where it feels like you just get stuck in stagnating water and you don't know where to go. And that's the time when we're supposed to go inside, internalize, and recognize that there's something greater at hand no matter what is happening in our life. There's always something that's there to be growing the soul. That's what we're here to do, is to awaken more fully to this God energy, this source energy, to move in and through every aspect in our lives. And when something is stopped and we feel like we've been abandoned, that is a very powerful time to look within and to be in that uncomfortable place of the not knowing. Because in that not knowing is where we discover a lot of things about this soul that we have. In the book Spirits in Rebellion, it says this: "There is not any other substance than spirit. Nature is spirit visible, and spirit is invisible nature. All the objects of nature are phenomena or appearances. By this we do not mean that they are an empty show, but that the appearance does not stand on its own feet and has its being not in itself, but in something else of which it is a form or manifestation. The same is true of the human body. It is the phenomenon of spirit, an appearance of which the soul is the underlying reality. But in something else of which it is a form or manifestation. The same is true of the human body. It is the phenomenon of spirit." So we are literally a manifestation of something greater that we might not be able to touch all the time and be a part of all the time, but it's always available to us because it was first. We are the manifestation of this greater love, this greater power, this greater knowing. And yet, when we get up against obstacles and we start to believe in the limitations of the universe or of this human experience, and we're speaking to the limitations, we lose track that there is a divine nature at the core of who we are that we can visit any moment by sitting and meditating and scanning our life, taking in what it is that's gotten to this stuck place, the stagnating place, because sometimes things have to stop for us to stop making more and more mistakes. The stopping is a time for introspection and remembering the truth of our beings. Why am I here? What am I here to bring into my life? What is the vibration that is the very essence of who I am? I want to know more about myself. I want to know why I'm here. I want to know why God moves in and through us, and I want to demonstrate that it does. But if I keep chasing at the thing that the world says I have to do, that's how we miss the mark. So many people keep listening to parents. He's listening to his parents. He wants to do what his parents want him to do. Well, he's at an age he needs to stop doing that. It's about him now. He did his education. He did the time. Now it's about him to be revealed unto himself, this powerful being that knows that God is real because he grew up in this work. His language is perfect. He's just a little off right now, and it's okay to question God. There are phases where you do, and Spirit doesn't get upset with you because it's not an angry God, it's a love energy that moves in and through love. But when we get into that rigid, fearful, limited place, we don't see God because love is God. So we have to find that spiritual essence of love in the isness to bring through that which is what God does through us. In Spirits in Rebellion, it says, "O seeker after the divine mysteries, know that the door of knowledge of God will be opened first of all to man, when he knows his own soul and understands the truth about his own spirit, according as it had been revealed. O seeker after the divine mysteries, Know that the door of knowledge of God will be opened first of all to man when he knows his own soul. The greatest term is to know thyself. We can't really move in and through. We can't bring this powerful energy through until we know thyself. And also, on top of that, to love thyself, to accept thyself, and to realize that you're not missing the mark. That you are made perfect in the image and likeness of God from the very second you took a breath. And the many lifetimes that you had before, you came in from love. But when we restrict ourselves in fear and block ourselves, that something is wrong. Because someone outside of ourselves told us there's something wrong with us, like an illness and you're not going to heal this, or a partner tells us that we're not good enough and we aren't lovable. The things that they give us scars. We get scars. And we get a jaded heart, and our heart gets hardened. And so sometimes life has to stop for us to move into the heart and soften it, to heal, to reflect, to forgive, to understand that there's something greater always at hand in every triumph and every hard and difficult thing that we face. The first time that I really experienced God as like a palpable God was I was in a dance performance, and I danced my whole life, and I performed dancing my whole life, but in my high school years I did a lot more at CU as a soloist and things like that. And this one night, I was dancing, and all of a sudden, there was no choreography in my head. It was as if something was just pulling me through every single move, and I didn't have to think about what the next step was. I was that music. I was that dance. And I had this experience of almost like watching myself unfolding before me, this connection to something so powerful. I didn't want it to ever stop. And it's never left my life since then. It was a sense of being picked up. And so I did all the work, I did all the training, I did all the things I needed to do, but this was the first time that the intellect left and the heart took over. I remember it was not exhausting. I wasn't out of breath in the certain areas that I normally would have been. I was literally flying. And I knew in that moment, there really is something greater at hand here. I learned that my surrendering and letting go to that choreography and not letting it control me, but to be in the isness of the core of this passionate, creative energy. Creativity is such a huge, big part of bringing through this powerful energy. When I work on sermons, I wait till something inspires me. So for instance, this young man coming to talk to me inspired me. I was listening to him talk to me, and I loved the questions he was asking me, and I was having so much fun answering them. And I saw that more and more joy started to come into him as we were speaking. But at one point he said, I've been thinking about going into the Peace Corps. And I said, we have been talking for a half an hour. And this is the first time you brought up a whole other picture of something you would like to do. And when you said that, you lit up. You're feeling divine guidance to do some sort of service. You want to go see this world. You do want to do all those things. So I had already said those things, but he was already thinking it. And now he's really moving towards that. But when I'm working on a sermon, I wait till something triggers and gets me ready to start writing. And sometimes that's on Thursday, and sometimes that it's at midnight on Saturday night. Spirit has a way of just keeping you on your toes, and you're just not sure what's going to come through. But one thing I do know is when I do sit down and it's time, I can be on a whole idea of what I'm writing and then stand up to my bookshelf, which is, 1,000 books, and I'll just pick a random book and I'll just go like this. And it'll be the exact quote that is supposed to be added to the sermon. And it happens every single time I write a sermon. I don't have to think of what the book is. I'm literally kind of like letting Spirit work through me. What is it? What is the point? What is the aha of this talk? And it'll be right there. And if it isn't there, then I know I need to stop and I have to leave the writing at that time. That's the proof that I'm in the zone and I'm being a conduit of this greater love, this greater energy that moves in and through absolutely everything that we do when we allow it and we get out of our own way. That's what happened in the dancing. I got out of my own way and became dance. I was dance. I was the music. I was everything. Edgar Cayce says this: Cayce sees soul as the developing portion of our whole nature. It is ever-changing, growing, and learning, and uses free will to explore, create, test, discover, and more. Soul is the ultimate companion to the Creator, a true companion, because it has the free will to choose to be a companion or not. The soul is also uniquely able to bridge the gulf between the spirit realms and the physical realms, between our divine, godly self and our earthly self. The mind of the soul is the subconscious. It may operate independently of the collective consciousness of the Creator. At least it is allowed to think it does. After all, there is no way to actually be outside of the whole. Or it may act in harmony and conscious at one mint with the collective consciousness. So the soul is the direct connection. The more we are unearthing the deeper and deeper meaning and purpose of what we're here to do and be, the more and more we are fueled by this divine energy. And taking us to move us towards, and everything is a divine unfoldment and it's a divine experience, and we start to look through a lens of the miraculous and looking to the ether and to the magic of life. Instead of looking for the limitations and the gossiping and the life outside that is no longer serving us, we no longer want to be a part of the darkness of the world or the negative chatter that we're saying to ourselves all the time. We need to reprogram what we're holding in here. Oh, I'm lovable. Oh, I'm motivated. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm so ready, God, I'm so ready. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking me to that which I'm being called to do right now. And I let go and I surrender and I let you carry me to the next phase, to the next thing in my life. An intuitive perception of the unity of the human with the divine existence is the highest attainable spiritual intelligence, and one which raises man above disease and the possibility of death. Before Jesus, this knowledge had nowhere existed. And through the dreary, dismal centuries of the history of the church, it has been covered with a deep layer of externalism. In a deep layer of externalism. That has been the problem. This idea to accept Jesus Christ as our Savior, as the separate Savior that's outside of us, and then we will get the favor of God, and so therefore then our lives will be unfolded unto us because we have reached through and we've touched to the own perfect child of God. But that's not what we do here at Unity. That divine, perfect child of God is all of us. Our goal is to connect with that highest state of consciousness that Jesus showed us is in each and every one of us. To be with that, to sit with that, to revel. Me too? I'm also a divine child of God. Think about that. What would you do if you really believed that? Would you speak up more about your truth with other people? Would you speak to the illness that you're facing and say, I'm going to overcome this because I'm not going to believe the externalism of this world that says this thing always kills everybody, because I am a divine, powerful child of God, made in the image and likeness of God. I am Christ in expansion and going and moving through into that which I want to overcome. I want to see past the narrow view that I've been looking through and staying stuck and living small and separate and feeling apart. I want to be a part of this powerful oneness, and I want to work together with my sisters and brothers, and I want to heal my life so I can heal this planet. I can heal my marriage. I can heal my relationship with my boss. I can heal my relationship with myself. Think about that. What if you told yourself every day that you loved yourself? If I'm a divine in nature, then any mistake that I ever did, I can forgive myself. Because that was the human, externalized version of myself. When I work from that inner core, that spiritual being, I no longer hurt other people. I no longer lie to people. I no longer wear a mask that is no longer me. I am fully expressed in the vibration that I'm bringing into my life in every single way, every single day. In Spirits in Rebellion, it says, but the historic Jesus and the Christ are not to be regarded as identical. Jesus was not born the Christ any more than Lincoln was born president of his country. He gradually became the Christ, the anointed one, or knowing one. Just as Gautama, who was born son of Queen Maya, became the Buddha, or enlightened one, Evans looked upon Jesus the Christ, he said, as the highest illustration in the history of mankind of a fully and harmoniously developed humanity. So even Christ had to learn how to be Christ, right? And Mary was told that she's going to be giving birth to the child of God. What if every mother was told that they're giving birth to the child of God? We would probably raise them as if they were. And what would materialize are children of God, knowing their worth, knowing their kindness, being empathetic and helpful and serving and sharing and open and beautiful and following their intuition and recognizing that they're divine. We aren't simply this human experience, but we can heal and overcome and be whatever we want, as long as it's always connected through the divine nature of God. It's bringing something beautiful to this world. So I was reading this really neat article about this woman who had just gone through all sorts of in vitro testing and found out that she was never going to be able to bear children. And she was about 38 years old. And she and her husband were devastated by this news. And her best friend was about to give birth to her first child in a month. And so she had to still look happy and be there for the best friend while she's literally dying inside with the news that she's not going to get to have this experience. But her friend asks her to go shopping for her baby and be there to get strollers and all that stuff. And so she agrees, and she's a good friend, and she shows up to Babies R Us, and they're walking around, and all the little baby stuff is so beautiful, and it's just really breaking her heart. But at some point, she comes across this little baby onesie with a lobster on the belly of it. And she just gets a tickle, it cracks her up. She just thinks it's so cute. And she says it to her friend, and her friend says, why won't you just buy it? She goes, no, I don't want to get it. She goes, no, you should buy that. And she goes, no, I'm good. And she was so touched by this little onesie that she went home to her husband and reiterated this funny little onesie. And he said to her, why didn't you just buy it? Just give yourself that little onesie just because it made you feel some sense of joy. And so in her hardship, in her pain in her life, they decided to go back to church because they needed to be picked up out of this depression that they were feeling between the two of them. And they showed up to church that Sunday. And they're listening to the sermon, and at the front of the sanctuary is an older woman holding a brand new baby that has a onesie on it with a little lobster on it. It's the exact lobster. And she can't take her eyes off of it the entire time. And then at the end of the service, the pastor says to the congregation, I know most of you know who this woman is that's holding this newborn baby, and you know what happened to her daughter. And there's all this compassion and everything. And he says, this baby needs a home. And she's sitting there thinking, this can't possibly be happening. This couldn't be possibly happening. And she's thinking, and this older woman that's got the baby, she wants one of you to have the baby. So she doesn't want to go through the system or anything. She wanted to be in her church, this baby. And so at the end, she and her husband walk up and meet this woman, and her husband's brave enough to hold the baby, but she can't hold the baby. She just can't. It's just too heartbreaking for her. And they give their phone number to her, and the elderly woman ended up coming to their house and visiting with them and everything else. And then the next day, she got the phone call of her life. She was chosen to get the baby. So sometimes God is that literal, that was a sign. That onesie was a sign. Something's coming. She felt it in her heart and her soul, but she couldn't believe that something good was going to come out of all this pain. She never even had to go through the adoption process, nothing. It was just this woman wanted to find the right person for that baby. And that is a demonstration of God. And many of us have had demonstrations like that. And for me, I have had demonstrations like that, and I've shared it through the years with you, through very devastating things that I've been through. And it tends to be when you're in a very devastated place that God will be that clear. Because we need the support. We need to be lifted up because we're at the point where we're begging for help and we don't know what to do to get out of the misery that we're in. It's usually then that we're willing to look inside and visit the broken places within ourselves so we can heal those things, so we can now vibrate with power and love and pride and beauty, so that we can attract all that back into our lives. Our belief, our faith is built through the hard, difficult times. And that is what I shared with this young man. You know that this time, while you're overcoming it, you will look back on this for the rest of your life when you've found the unfoldment of what is being called for you right now. But you have to have faith. That's what faith is in the times of trial. To have faith that there's something greater at hand right now, that is already coming to you, that you live in a gratitude that it's already healed, it's already done, and we're grateful. In the surrender experiment, Michael Singer says, let go of the inner noise created by your personal likes and dislikes. The more you see subtle synchronicities in what is unfolding around you. The unexpected concurrences of events are like messages from life gently nudging you in the direction of spirit. Listen to the subtle nudges, instead of listening to the not-so-subtle mental and emotional reactions caused by your personal preferences. Practice surrender in your everyday life and discover the perfection of the journey that is unfolding before you. I went running this last week with my dog very early in the morning. I don't sleep late at all anyway, but I was waking up early and wanted to go spend time with Gilly because I've been working a lot lately and I feel bad. He's like my baby. I love this dog more than myself, so we got to go for a run. And so I went to this lake that I go to a couple times a week and I run at the lake. And this particular day, we got out of the car and Gilly was really jumpy and weird and did not want to go to the lake. And I was like worried, like maybe he didn't feel well or something like that. So I kind of kept pushing him, like, come on, Gilly, what's going on with you? And he finally kind of got a trot, but there's always just this kind of like disdain about this run that day. And I finally got him, around to this kind of like dark wooded area when a man appeared on a bike with a jacket on when it was like 80 degrees on, and with his hood tight around his face with like dark glasses on. And slowly like rides by me, and Gilly's just tweaking. He is freaking out at this guy, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, which direction can I go? There was nobody at this lake, and I actually unfortunately left my phone in the car. I usually run my phone, but I didn't have my arm thing. It was like all these little mistakes that I made that day, and I didn't listen to my intuition at all. And so I thought, I better turn around and kind of like go back that way, because it was faster to get back to my car. And I got around for a ways, and I didn't see him anywhere, and then all of a sudden, he crossed my path again, and now I'm really, like, cornered in this lake situation, and I am in fight or flight. My whole life is flashing before me, and I'm, sketching out that my husband didn't even know what time I left. I'm thinking all the things, would they ever find me, and I'm kind of trying to look behind me so he doesn't see that I'm really nervous, and I'm running, and before I know it, he's just staying behind me, like 8 feet behind the whole time I'm running. And I'm in fear, majorly. And I have a mom, that grew up in New York who always was like, don't ever show fear because, fear attracts, bad things. So you got to stay in peace. And I'm like trying to stay in peace, but I'm not there. And I hit this break in the woods, and I see across the bend of the lake, there's a couple, an older couple walking. And that's my moment. I found a run in me that I really didn't have left because I'd been running for a while now. And I just hauled with my dog to get to these people. I was so grateful to see these people. I cannot tell you, it was like they were like family immediately. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I've been being followed by this guy, and they saw him go flying behind me and go somewhere else. And I just started crying. I just couldn't stop crying. That adrenaline level, I don't think I've been that scared in a really long time. Because I have an incredible trust for people. And I didn't listen to my intuition that day. And I usually meditate before I run. I wasn't meditated up. My dog warned me, and I didn't listen. And I pushed past to that human way of just, I want to go for a run. I was pushing through all sorts of obstacles that were showing up. So it's an important example that when something isn't going right, you need to look at why. You never know that the stopping is actually going to literally save your life. And listening to something greater. And by the way, dogs are killer, right? Look at that intuition. That was forever away, that guy, and my dog has never done that. Literally saying, let's go, over his play. So we have to connect with the super consciousness. So we have consciousness, which is that conscious mind that works, is the level that we are most familiar with. It is the level which our personality and three-dimensional self develops and has much of its activity. And then we have the subconscious, which is the part of our minds that bridges the outer self with the spiritual self. The superconscious level is the portion made in the image of the Creator. As recorded in Genesis, it is that portion of us that is a god or godling, as the ancient Egyptians termed it. Casey explained that the superconscious is a thing apart from anything earthly and only makes its presence known or is knowable when the soul self lifts itself and portions of the conscious mind up into the vast, expansive level that is the superconsciousness. This is the portion of our being that Casey referred to when he said that. And how do we access that superconsciousness? Through meditation, through laying on Mother Earth and letting all the negativity and the cells that are no longer serving us and the things that are not good, and let her take it out of us and ask to be refueled with all that perfection and all that beauty, and replace the negative with the positive and connect with that beat of the Mother Earth that moves in and through everything that we are. There's an amazing woman that has a YouTube interview, and her name is Claire DuBois, and this is what she says. We are the ones that make the dam in the river. Yes, things have been done to us, but we are the ones that don't break down the dams within us. The more we let go of the insecurities and our ability to face the pain in each dam and break it down, the more energy we will have for the powerful stuff. And that is how I see it. Thank you. We will take an offering for Unity now. And while we're getting ready to take the offering, I want to remind you that this church is 100% taken care of by the tithes by you. This is your spiritual center, and if you are moved by the classes and the groups and the sermons that are given here, please give back to it fairly. And we know that it's in giving that we receive, and it's having faith in knowing that there's plenty of abundance in this universe that we can give from and therefore receive tenfold back into our powerful lives. And with that said, let's take our offerings in our hands and bless it with this offering statement. And you can say it with me. We'll have the words up there. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive because I give. And again, we have a chance to listen to Erna and Talia and our entire incredible Unity band.
Yeah, so this song is actually written by Joel Plimmer over here on the piano. You'll see he normally plays bass. They're switched out, so I have a really talented music team up here. And Talia is going to sing it for us. It sounds awesome.
Thank you.
If you think you need to tell me that you learned your lesson, everything is different, well, you don't. Baby, if you think I don't believe you and that I would leave you, boy, just believe me that I won't. 'Cause lately I see who you are completely, and I just want you with me for the rest of my life. When you can't speak, I will give you the words. When you can't cry, I will take on the hurt. When you can't walk, I will help you get through. I'll carry you. You have always bared your soul all along, even when it didn't make you look that strong. But I see you as the matador taking on the bull. You fill my half empty with your half full. Now I need you with me. I want you more than ever. I'm talking about forever. For the rest of my life. When you can't speak, I will give you the words. When you can't cry, I will take on the hurt. When you can't walk, I will help you get through. I'll carry you. And I will be your rickshaw when you can't get around. I will be your concert when you can't hear a sound. When you lose direction, I'll know just what to do. I'll carry you back home. Oh, you're never alone. When we're at the altar, looking at forever, with rings on our fingers, remember these lines, they're yours for all time. When you can't speak, I will give you the words. When you can't cry, I will take on the hurt. When you can't walk, I will help you get through. I'll carry you. And I will be your passion when you can't feel a thing. And I will be your high note when you just wanna sing. And I will be your rainbow when you're just feeling blue. I'll carry you back home.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. These are the announcements for today.
We want to let you know that our services on Sunday are going to be at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. from now on through the winter and spring. The first service will be a meditation service with Jack and Norma, and then the second service will be led by Shad and I until the weekend of the 24th and 25th.
All right, excellent. Well, I guess I'm just going to show up at probably 9:15 or 11:15 at either of those services.
Well, that makes sense if you're running late, Mike, but you do know that if you come from the very beginning, that there's more value to the experience, because they say to sing is to pray twice, and then you move into that message, and oh my goodness, is your life transformed.
Thank you for that, Santisha. Our Welcome Home weekend is coming up pretty fast here. August 23rd, that's a Friday, we're going to have a sing-along led by Erna Groverland at 6 p.m. in our fellowship hall. We already did it once. It was a great time. Just come and hang out and sing with all your Unity friends. Saturday, August 24th, we're going to be starting our Saturday night celebration service, which will be led by Shad, and will feature quite a bit more music in the service. And August 25th, we'll be having our Welcome Home Sunday 9 a.m. meditation service led by Jack, and our 11 a.m. celebration service led by Santisha.
So you can imagine that we need volunteers if we have 3 services now every weekend, because every weekend that's going to be the schedule. Saturday at 6 with Shad, 9 a.m. with Jack, and 11 a.m. with Santisha. But the Saturday service, we need lots and lots of volunteers. We need ushers, greeters, lighting people, musicians, video people, youth volunteers. If you're interested in helping 1 hour a month or every single week, that would be incredible. Please see Heather in the lobby and she'll get you signed up, and that's the greatest way to get involved in this amazing community.
Coming up this month, Shad is going to be leading a men's book group. It's going to be August 26th at 7 p.m. for 4 weeks ongoing. We're going to meet just down the street at a restaurant down here called the Rayback Collective, where they have food and drinks. We're going to be reading a book called The Why Cafe. I've already signed up. Why haven't you?
This Thursday, we have a women's book group starting that will be following the book Marrow by Elizabeth Lesser. It will be meeting the second and fourth Thursday of the month from 6 to 8, and it's a $10 registration, and it's $10 per week. It will be led by Sandy Sparkle, and anyone who didn't get to do the Marrow book group with me can now do the 5 weeks. There'll be 5 groups meeting the second and fourth Thursday of the month, and you can register in the lobby.
Going on right now, down at the Boulder Creek, Boulder's hosting a Latinx festival, and Unity of Boulder has a booth there to help spread our message far and wide. If you happen to be in the area, stop on down and say hello to us at our booth.
And we have a social group called the Unity Spelunkers, which are going on a camping trip and caving expedition to Fulford Cave, August 8th, 9th, and 10th. If you'd like to be a part of this trip, it's for all ages, but the ability has to be able to hike and have fun. You don't have to go caving, but you could go camping and have a lot of fun with each other. Just sign up with Heather and get the details there today in the lobby.
And that's all the announcements we have for you today.
I'm Santisha.
And I'm Mike.
And we choose Unity. Okay, so we have fellowship. After the service, we have bagels and coffee and tea on this side, and in the bookstore we have CDs and DVDs of the sermon right after the service. And let's all rise and close with our closing song.
Let me
something in your rivers. What was it? I got distracted. The dams.